Hello and welcome back to some more vintage Cube content. This is Chill, and if you're here for Cube, you've come to the right place. And here we go, pick one, pack one, ding ding, Mox Jet. Let's slam some power and start this draft off nicely. Pack 2, after first picking a Mox Jet, I mean, there's Snuff Out, right? But what other strong cards do we have in this pack? Hex Drinker's pretty strong, though I've got Hex Drinker on my own personal watch list in the Cube just because the play patterns can be unfun, but the protection from everything is just pretty backbreaking on your opponent. So Vindicate for the Orzhov shenanigans. We can even go Metalworker, but let's take this Hex Drinker. I know it's not the most normal follow-up to a black Mox in green. Normally green doesn't need Moxen, but Hex Drinker is definitely one of the strongest cards in the Cube. And here's Mana Vault. You know how I feel about Mana Ramp. You need to pick it up early and often, and so we're going to slam this here, pick 3. What else we got here? There's a Lily. I'm not a huge fan of Ophiomancer, so I'm leaning black, right? Because we have the Mox Jet. There's no green cards in this pack, which is kind of important to note. So we can't follow up with another green card after our second pick, Hex Drinker. Yeah, let's just take Lily. Lily can enable some shenanigans, and there's an Archon. I love Archon. There's also a Skull Clamp in this pack, but I love Archon. I think it's the best reanimation target in the Cube, better than Grizzlebrand, so we'll take it here. And then past another black card, Hymn to Turak. Let's throw that one in as well. So definitely looking to solidify into black, and maybe we got some Reanimator shenanigans going on, or maybe just some attrition mid-range. There's a Vamp Tutor, very important if you're trying to do reanimation stuff. Ravenous Chupacabra, kind of replaceable. I'm really excited about the new Warhammer 40k Ravenous Chupacabra variant that was spoiled, Necron Deathmark, and I think this is definitely a Chupacabra replacement in a power maxed cube. Here in this pack, there's Infernal Grasp versus Night Whisper, also versus Glorybringer. Let's talk about this pick just a little bit here. Green has dried up tremendously. The Hex Drinker may get stranded here. Glorybringer represents potential 2-for-1, and the fact that Glorybringer is kind of coming around here, pick 8, means we may be able to get some other red cards to wheel in later packs. So because Glorybringer is a 2-for-1, I just want to pick it up. I think I want to hedge a little bit towards red and then see how that pays out for us here the rest of the draft. There's a Downfall and a Bitter Blossom. I do like Bitter Blossom. I doubt that Skull Clamp that we saw earlier will wheel. I'm going to take the Bitter Blossom on the off chance Skull Clamp wheels. All right, there's Snuff Out from pack 1. Happy to pick that up now that we're more solidly in black. There's a Vraska if we can do some green things, but I think I just want to take the Hellrider. Hellrider, another great red card. We need to worry about our mana fixing again with these double black and double red pips if we pick up the Hellrider. But it's something we can look to do here in some later packs and just prioritize. Burst Lightning, love to see it. I do like it over Ophiomancer. That Skull Clamp did not wheel, and that's kind of expected. But this is kind of why I took the Glorybringer. I had a feeling some of these red cards were going to wheel around, and just jumping in on red as the wheels start to work here. There's a Dire Fleet into Seasoned versus a Braid. And a 15th pick, Inferno Titan. Yeah, that was a good hunch for us to kind of pivot into red a little bit. All right, pack 2. Strongest card in here in our colors is probably Recurring Nightmare, if we're able to do any Archon of Cruelty shenanigans. Visionaries, so pretty medium. Ob Nixilis, interesting, but also kind of medium. So we'll take the Recurring Nightmare. Wow, and here's a pick 2 Mox. Sorry to pass Liliana, but we'll take Mox Emerald as well. So 2 Moxen, very nice. There's a Bone Shards, but we got to slam this Badlands. We need the mana fixing for all these double black and red pips. So happy to get that. And hopefully we can get a fetch that can fetch that Badlands out of our deck later. Here, the decision I think is between Bone Crusher and Incinerate. Just some more removal, and let's take the Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher offers a little bit more value. There's a Gold Span. There's a red fetch though, so I think we need to take Arid Mesa here. I do love Gold Span just to make some manas, but let's be responsible and take our mana fixing. Prismatic Vista as well, I think. Just again, needing to get that correct mana for our double black, double red pips. Feeling a lot better about the mana now so far, especially with that on-color Mox Jet. There's a Custody Lich, a Git Probe. I don't want Sword. Recruiter doesn't get too many things right now, so let's take the Custody Lich. Monarch's a pretty broken mechanic. And then here's a choice between Blood Chief's Thirst and I think Pack Rat. I want a few more discard enablers for Archon. Let's pick up the Pack Rat here. Pack Rat can also win games on its own. There's Obnixilis, so happy to take Ob now. And ooh, Liliana and Magda both wield. I love both these cards, but Liliana is very strong. And a Bone Shard's wheeling as well. Yeah, we're in the right colors for sure. There's the Incinerate versus Bone Shredder. There's some shenanigans with Bone Shredder and Recurring Nightmare, so we'll take the Bone Shredder here. Woe Strider probably for the board. We'll take the Grim Lavamancer. And that bout rounds up pack 2. We're shaping up here to be a kind of mid-range Rakdos deck with some Reanimator outs for Archon. And that's how I like to play Reanimator. I don't like to go all in on combo Reanimator. I like having just kind of a solid strategy, red-black mid-range, and then kind of out of nowhere, we can Recurring Nightmare out an Archon or something crazy like that. Wow. All right. Mox number 3, Mox Pearl, get in the jet. Hate passing Grief and the Monkey, but we're not going to pass Power. And we are just Moxen rich right now. 2 are off color, but that's okay, I think. There's a Blackleaf Cliffs. There's also a Shallow Grave. I think our fixing's okay enough that we can pass on this Blackleaf Cliffs and get the Shallow Grave out. Shallow Graving a lot of our creatures like Glorybringer, which we can also exert, Archon, Inferno Titan, Custody Lich, offers that kind of Reanimator out that I said I wanted to have in the deck. And so we definitely want to include it here because it may not wheel. Here's a lot of interesting choices as well. Rabblemaster, Mox Diamond even, if we want to go for Moxen, right? Smuggler's Copter's good discard outlet. I think we can take any of these cards and be happy with it. So I think the correct choice here is the Smuggler's Copter just because it enables that loot, which includes discard and just gives us another way to discard cards incidentally. It works in a mid-range, but it's not all in on Reanimator, right? And, ooh, there's another one of my favorite cards in the cube, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, doing all the things. Let's pick that up. Duretti coming around as well. Really kind of wish I had that Skull Clamp now, right? All right, Kiki's not where we're at. I think the decision's between something like Una's Prowler and maybe a sideboard card like Red Elemental Blast, REB. We could be soft to some sort of control deck. So I think we have enough discard outlets right now. I think this pick could go either way. Let's just take the REB, throw it in the sideboard, and kind of help our game against blue. Here's a Mesmeric Fiend. Pest Infestation going that late is an atrocity. So we're not in green though, so we'll pass it as well. Wow, Jace that late, huh? But here's a Fury and a Necromancy. I kind of want both of these, but we need Fury. Fury's just a great card. I love the Evoke mechanic. Casting spells for free. You've heard me say it before. It's great. And then here's a decision between Firebolt and Kroxa. I don't really like Kroxa in decks where I'm trying to do some Reanimator stuff, right? Because escaping it's kind of a liability. So let's just pick up the Firebolt. And then, awesome. Blackleaf Cliffs wheeling, Rabblemaster wheeling. Yeah, we snagged up the right colors here. I'm really happy with that kind of pivot in pack 1 to the Glorybringer. That really strengthened our picks for the rest of this draft because you saw green really dried up. So I'm glad we didn't go in on the Hex Drinker. Ooh, there's a Corpse Dance. If we need another reanimation spell, we can use that for sure. Kind of interesting seeing all these Storm cards here there at the end of pack 3. No Storm players at the table today. Una's Prowler wheeling's pretty sweet. That card may end up making the deck. The 3/1 Evasive Flyer Beater is just pretty good, even though it does turn on discard for your opponent. Tendril's last pick. Storm players everywhere are rolling over in their grave. All right, here's our 40. The highlight is those 3 very nice looking Moxen there at the bottom of our curve, Pearl, Jet, and Emerald. I feel like we're reveling in riches with that many Moxen. We also have the Mana Vault to help ramp some stuff out. And then we got an okay Rakdos creature base. A little light on the creatures, I think, especially at the 2 or 3 drop level. But we got a lot of great value spells with Planeswalkers, Bitter Blossom, Recurring Nightmare, things like that. So let's take this Rakdos with a pinch of Reanimator into the league and see how well it holds up. All right, welcome to match 1 of our Rakdos Hints of Reanimator. And here's A great opening hand with a hint of 2 Moxen. Yeah, let's keep this. I don't know what the rest of our play is going to look like, but we have 2 Moxen, which means we basically have a turn 2 Hellrider. And it looks like our opponent's playing green. There's a Hex Drinker. I wish I had a Swamp to lead out on so that we could snuff this Hex Drinker out. Unfortunately, we don't. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to Firebolt turn 1, which makes a lot of sense here. Get rid of that very powerful card so that our opponent cannot level it up. And then next turn, we're just going to get out a turn 2 Hellrider off these 2 Moxen. All right, opponent Green Suns for 1. That's not scary, as they can't get something like Raphellos. Now, if we draw a swamp, okay, no swamp. I'm going to choose not to get rid of the elf this turn. I think it's too important to get the Hellrider on the battlefield and just start attriting our opponent's life total. So let's get in there with the devil. Ping them for a damage, and we'll pass the turn. Ooh, Breeding Pool from the opponent. Shocked, untapped into Scavenging Ooze. Well, that's incidentally not great for us since we do have the Archon in hand. So they exile our Firebolt, which is a little sad. We can't kill that with Bone Crusher Giant. I think we have to kind of pay the full cost for Snuff out here, which is a little awkward. I'd love to have just had a Swamp pay for life and get something like Fable down or Bone Crush our opponent's elves, but we'll do what we had to do here and get in again with the Hellrider. 4th land from the opponent. So they got 5 mana available and they Finale for 3. All right. Augur of Autumn. It's a good card, but it's not impactful on this board. And we're going to be able to both play Fable as well as Bone Crush our opponent's Llanowar elves. So that just keeps him off of mana and reduces a power for Augur's ability. And we'll get in there then with the Hellrider. If our opponent wants to keep taking this, I mean, our game plan's working. Or if they want to trade, I'm happy with that as well. All right, they take it. OP down to 7. And on the ropes, they need to play something big here to kind of stabilize. Nurturing Peatland comes down, which they immediately crack. That's good news for us. They are searching for an answer. And they don't find it. All right, we'll take the easy win there. All right, game 2, we are on the draw. And this hand is another Slam Keep with one of our Moxen. So we can likely turn to Fable here. And I will hold the Mox Emerald in hand. Ooh, our opponent has a Mox Emerald as well. They turn 1 Raphellos, which is pretty good. We're going to have to upgrade that immediately. So I am glad we have this Moxen. I was going to say we're going to hold it since green has so much artifact destruction, but we're not going to let this Raphellos untap here. All right, opponent plays Sword of Feast and Famine with no creatures on board. Kind of love to see that. We'll get down Fable here. This will give us a creature and allow us to ditch our Archon next turn. Really love Fable, so much value because we don't really need both these lands in hand, and I actively want to discard the Archon, and so we'll be able to get 2 fresh cards off the Fable next turn. Plus, it's going to ramp us with the Shaman token. Yeah, this card is amazing. All right, opponent plays Tree Speaker and attaches the sword to it. Okay, so they got a 3/3 pro black, but Shallow Grave was an awesome draw. With the second ability here of Fable, we're going to be able to ditch the Archon and we'll be able to Shallow Grave the Archon out, which will get rid of the Tree Speaker. We draw a Swamp and a Bitter Blossom. So let's cast Shallow Grave here. Let's get this Archon out. Yep, and Archon ends the match. See, that's why I don't like those swords. They're such a liability. It wasn't even that great. Took up most of our opponent's mana. In the Vintage Cube, you want to be almost doing more broken things, such as Shallow Graving out an Archon off the second trigger of your Fable. So that was a very quick match. Let's head into match 2. All right, here we are, match 2 on the draw. And this hand is short of a few Moxen, I guess, but we can keep it. If we have to, we can vamp out a Moxen for our turn 2. Opponent leads on Horizon Canopy. I don't know if we need to vamp yet. Ooh, we get a Smuggler's Copter. All right, let's just play the Arid Mesa and pass. Our Badlands is in our hand, so the Arid Mesa is only going to be good for red mana. Mountain from the opponent into an Azoria Signet. All right, kind of slow, and I think that's a good Abrade target. So we can fetch end of turn here, and then plan to play our Blackleaf Cliffs next turn, and then just Abrade the Signet. Yep, another Swamp. So we'll Abrade and then pass back. Opponent casts Grim Lavamancer. Not too scared against that, as both the creature and vehicle in our hand have 3 toughness. We draw Shallow Grave. Do some Reanimator shenanigans. Maybe go Vampiric up Archon. That may be a bit, let's say, aggressive. So let's just start with getting the Smuggler's Copter down and wait to make a decision here on what we want to do based off our opponent's next turn. All right, OP gets in with Grim Lavamancer. Then they do not make a land drop. Yeah, that's why I love blowing up a Signet. Signets are kind of a liability. I mean, they can be helpful in times, but I think they're more often a liability than a help. Our opponent used their whole second turn to cast the Signet, and we just destroyed it. So now that we know our opponent's hurting on mana, I kind of want to put on a lot of pressure here, and let's just get Fable the Mirror Breaker. That card's going to do a lot of things for us, and it may help us draw some additional action as well. Plus, we'll be able to crew the Copter with the Shaman token. Too bad that Shaman doesn't make treasures when it taps versus attacking, like Magda. All right, so let's crew up the Copter and see what we can loot here. A mountain. Yeah, we definitely don't need all these lands, so we can ditch the swamp and we'll pass the turn. All right, end of turn, our opponent stomps our Goblin token. Little unfortunate, but we still have Fable for next turn. Our opponent's not slamming a land here, so they may still be hurting on mana. Life from the Loam with no lands in the graveyard. They just want to dredge next turn. All right, that's a desperation play if I've ever seen one. All right, we untap, draw Prismatic Vista, which we don't need, so we can ditch both these lands to Fable's Rummage ability. And then there's Archon. Oh man, I wish I could have ditched Archon. But we can ditch Archon this turn. I'm going to want to wait though to cast Shallow Grave. Plus we're still 1 mana short. So let's cast Hellrider. We will use the Hellrider to crew up the Copter. And then we can get Archon into our graveyard. And we'll still get the Hellrider trigger. Copter coming in clutch here with the loot. We draw Bone Shredder. Let's get Archon in the graveyard and pass the turn back to the opponent. All right, OP dredged and found 2 lands. So they recast Life from the Loam, play a Taiga, which turns on their Grim Lavamancer. I'm expecting maybe they're going to use Grim Lavamancer to kill Reflection of Kiki Jiki here. I'm going to make them do it now. I'm going to cast this Bone Shredder. And they do. In response, I'm going to use Kiki to crew the Smuggler's Copter, and we're also going to just cast Archon through using Shallow Grave. And this is going to be enough damage to kill the opponent. Yep. All right. All right, game 2, we are on the draw again. And man, I wish I had some fast mana. We do have Vampiric Tutor, so we can vamp for a Moxen. And Lily's pretty good, so let's just go ahead and keep this for now. See what our opponent does, who leads out Wooded Foothills, fetching a Triome. We draw Bone Shards, not super useful yet. So we'll play our Swamp and Pass and see what our opponent does on their second turn to see what we want to vamp for. I mean, if they play another Signet, we'll just vamp. Okay, so they just play a tap land and pass. That's pretty good. Just because I don't know how to react to it. So I guess we'll just go with our first plan here and vamp for a Moxen. That might be a bit aggressive, but I like Moxen, so let's get it on the board. This is going to get us a turn to Lily, which is pretty nice, as long as we don't get Mana Tithed here. And we'll just uptick on Lily and start going to town there. Third land, Plains, into Monastery Mentor. All right. Ooh, and we draw other Lily. Very nice. So now with Liliana Travel going on here, we can downtick on Liliana of the Veil, get this Mentor out of here, uptick on our other Liliana, get a little bit closer to her ultimate, and pass the turn back. And then next turn, we got Glorybringer ready to come down. Crucible of Worlds. Okay. That's not as scary when we got 2 Planeswalkers on the battlefield. Otherwise, I'd be worried about something like Ravages of War or Armageddon. Okay, so they do burst down Lily of the Veil as well. All right, well, we'll just cast a 4/4 Haster and not exert because there's no exert targets. And keep getting in there for some damage. Recast Wooded Foothills there off the Crucible for our opponent. into a green source. They have Omnath mana. Ooh, Knight of Autumn. All right. What do they want to do? They want to make it big. That's fine, I guess. I mean, I guess they have to do that. Otherwise, Lily just kills it. But we can take care of Knight of Autumn by exerting. Ooh, we cannot. All right, they cast Winds of Abandon. So we'll just fetch out a mountain here. That's a little sad. So now we're incentivized to use Bone Shards. Okay, we draw a Mox Pearl. A little late there, Mox Pearl. But we can just discard our Blackleaf Cliffs. We can actually discard the Mox Pearl. We don't need a Mox. We'll get rid of the Knight of Autumn, play our Blackleaf Cliffs, uptick on our Lily, and threaten ultimate activation for next turn. And I will ultimate if we get the chance. Recast Wooded Foothills again into a tapped Steam Vents into Ren in 6. Oh man, all right. So Ren's going to ping our Lily, keep her off ultimate, and looks like opponent just cycles Jetmir's Garden. We draw a Mana Vault. I wish we had a creature in our graveyard and we could downtick Lily on. I'll just uptick again. It's going to force our opponent to downtick on Ren. Maybe the better choice here would have been to -2, but if we miss on the mill, then it's just -2 for no reason. With any creature in the graveyard, I definitely would have -2 Lily there. We'll just cast the Mana Vault and pass. I mean, we can hard cast our Archon now. Opponent again downticks on Ren on the Lily, keeping her out of ultimate range. Plays a Waterlogged Grove. And then stomps Lily as well. Okay. Yeah, Lily's doesn't look like she's going to get to ultimate. We were so close. Now I kind of expect the opponent just to cast their Bone Crusher Giant now from the Adventure Zone. No, they cast Yorion. Are they just going to flicker their Ren? Looks like it. And now we got a Yorion to deal with. Hellrider helps. Unfortunately, we can't get through the Yorion, even with upticking on the Liliana. As unsatisfactory as this is, I think the play right now is to uptick Lily and just cast Hellrider. Again, maybe we could be risky and try to downtick on Lily to mill 2 cards and get another creature card. Like if we milled Archon, that'd be pretty sweet. So maybe I should be risking that here. Now, upticking on Lily is going to give us one more turn at least with Lily. We can attack with Hellrider because it'll just bounce off the Yorion, but that'll let us just get a damage onto the Ren as well. So we'll ping a damage on Ren here. Oh, they just let Ren die? That's got to be a mistake. There was no reason not to block there. We have no cards in hand. Yeah, I'm not sure about that decision. All right, opponent attacks Lily with Yorion. And then second main gets the Bone Crusher down. And then plays Jace. Well, that's pretty good. I expect that they may try to Fate Seal us here since we have no cards in hand. Our best draw here is Archon for sure. Yeah, they do. They choose to Fate Seal us. All right, we draw Shallow Grave. Yeah, I think this is a mistake. Upticking on Liliana is not a long-term plan here. I think what I should do is -2 to just try to hit 2 creatures or a creature, right? Because Shallow Graving and Archon, I think we win on the spot. So we'll uptick on the Bone Crusher. This means we have clean attacks against Jace. And if the opponent wants to defend their Jace with the Bone Crusher, they can. Not a great attack because we were unable to kill Jace completely. And now our Liliana is exposed to Yorion. We really need to draw some action here. Opponent plays Tireless Tracker, which is good action for them, especially with Crucible and Fetch Land in their graveyard. Opponent Fate Seals us again. Probably the right move. And then just gets in there with the Yorion to take care of the Liliana. Sacks a clue, grows their Tireless Tracker, draws a card. They have two draw lands there with Waterlogged Grove and Horizon Canopy. So our opponent's going to be getting some action. We're just drawing off the top. And against the Fate Sealing Jace, this is not looking good. They cast Life from the Loam. All right. We draw an Abrade. Well, I want to get rid of this Tireless Tracker as it represents some definite recurring card advantage. Let's attack Jace, see how our opponent blocks. All right, yep. Kind of expected. They just put the Bone Crusher in front. Let's also deal 3 damage to the Tireless Tracker And now we do at least have a target for Shallow Grave, which is the Hellrider. Not the greatest target. Maybe we can do something with it here. Like get the Jace off the battlefield. Opponents over there doing the things. Life from the Loam, dredging, and getting their draw lands back. And they cast Sun Titan? Okay. Yeah. And they get Mentor back. Now, our opponent didn't Fate Seal us, so we do have a live draw, and it's Prismatic Vista. Yeah, no, I've seen enough against the Sun Titan. Let's head into Game 3. All right, Game 3, we're on the play. I'm going to keep this on a turn 1 Bitter Blossom, which can be pretty good. Plus, we'll have Snuff Out backup held up. So swamp into Pearl into Bitter Blossom, your turn, opponent. And if Bitter Blossom stays on the battlefield for just a few turns, we'll have a lot of great flyers in the air. Top land from the opponent, Jetmir's Garden. We make a Fairy Rogue, draw Bone Crusher. You know what? I just want to play Bone Crusher as a 4-3 here. We don't need to hold it for burn. We have the Snuff Out in hand, and I just want to maximize pressure on our opponent. They play a Sacred Foundry tapped, which is good for us, nice and slow. We draw an Arid Mesa, less than ideal. Let's thin out a little bit here, fetch out our Badlands, and let's get in there for 5, though. Plains Mentor from our opponent, and that's not going to be long for this world. Now that they're tapped out, we can pay Snuff Out's full mana cost, making sure Jetmir's Garden isn't an island so I don't unexpectedly get dazed. And the Mentor is down. Another land for us. We're kind of flooding out, but luckily we have a pretty good board presence here with Bitter Blossom and the Bone Crusher, and now we get in there for 6. So 2-turn clock here remaining for our opponent, with something like Hellrider maybe just being instantaneously lethal. Opponent does get out Knight of the Reliquary and Grim Lavamancer. Those, there's a Black Leaf Cliffs. All right, well, I'm just gonna swing out again. If our opponent would like to block the Bone Crusher, they can. All right, representing not quite lethal again yet, with just our opponent being able to block with the Knight of the Reliquary. They play a Ramunap Excavator, which is, again, not going to stop these Fairy Rogue tokens. There's an Archon. All right, now all those lands aren't too bad. We have 6. Blackleaf Cliffs is 7, so we can cast Archon next turn. Unfortunately, I think the game's going to be over next turn. All right, opponent blocks and then activates Knight to pump Knight. This will allow the Knight to trade with the Bone Crusher Giant. And we'll pass a turn, and opponent's got 1 turn. Upheaval doesn't even look that great to them because we have the Mox Pearl. They Winds of Abandon. Well, we definitely get all of our lands out now. Like literally all of our lands. Winds of Abandon's a good answer. I mean, Bitter Blossom's going to keep making tokens, and they don't know we have the Archon. So they're definitely buying themselves a turn, they think. But we're just going to hardcast Archon here, and that should do it. Ooh, and there's a Hellrider. We don't even need a hardcast Archon. But that's more fun than playing Hellrider. Ooh, and we can do both. We have so much mana. All right. GG's, opponent. Let's head to the finals in match 3. Okay, here we are. And this hand, let's keep it. We have acceleration and some things to do here. But our cards are kind of reactive. We'll lead off on Mana Vault, see what our opponent does. Hopefully we can just destroy whatever our opponent's going to play here next couple turns. Swamp Go from the opponent, and we draw a Firebolt. So the question is, do we tap the Mana Vault right now to get Liliana down? Or do we just like play a Mountain and hold up a Braid? I think I want to play a Mountain and hold up a Braid, and hopefully we can have a pretty explosive 3rd turn. Because maybe our opponent will play some sort of Signet or something. Second Swamp into Hymn to Turak. Oh no. And we lose a Braid and Recurring Nightmare. Well, now I'm more incentivized to get this Lily down. And there's an Archon of Cruelty. Too bad we couldn't have gotten that in the graveyard, huh? So we'll cast Lily here since we had our 3rd land. We'll uptick and just start threatening an ultimate activation here in a few turns. We're actually not that far away from Archon. We have 6 mana. We need 2 more to hardcast Archon. Opponent Night's Whispers. Maybe they're missing some lands. They do make a land drop here. and then pass. All right, we need some action. Bone Crusher Giant's fine. I'm tempted to just play this out as a 4-3. And we'll uptick on Liliana again. Snuff out from the opponent. That's kind of nice. It deals damage to our opponent there. So they had to basically pay 6 for that. So they're down to 12. Ooh, it looks like our opponent's Demir. They find an island and play it. Now we can always downtick on the Liliana next turn if we need to get the Bone Crusher back. They cast Collective Brutality, pitching Archon. Okay, we're up against Reanimator. And then they Shallow Grave the Archon. Oh no. All right, so yep, there goes our Mana Vault. I expect they'll attack down our Lily. Luckily, the Archon exiles here off the Shallow Grave, so that way we don't get a death trigger on Archon as well, but whew. All right, we draw Mox Pearl. Now we're quite a ways away from Archon, so kind of dead card in our hand. We need to get some running top decks here. 5th land from the opponent who just says go. Rabble Master is a great draw, though. So let's get the Rabble Man down. Start getting in there. Go Goblin Token. And we'll pass it back to the opponent. I mean, opponent knows we have Archon in hand, so we're not really threatening anything here. Opponent has their own Liliana. All right. They downtick for what? Do they get Crypt Breaker? I'm not sure what they got out of their graveyard with that downtick. We draw Fable, so that's pretty good. So let's start out by attacking down the Lily with the 2 Goblin tokens. And the Rabble Master can go at face. Now, our opponent can discard a card activation here on Crypt Breaker. They don't, so they take some damage. We'll get Fable down. All right, I'm liking this. Turning the corner a little bit here. Now, knowing that our opponent's playing Reanimator, I'm wondering if we don't pitch this Archon to the Fable 2nd chapter, because it's likely our opponent could reanimate it as well. Kind of high risk, high reward, because maybe we pitch it and we get our own reanimation spell to get Archon on the board. And Archon's just going to close this game out quickly for whoever reanimates it. All right, Dark Ritual to start with. That's a lot of mana. Toxic Deluge for 2. Yeah, that's pretty good. That clears our board of the pressure. Now that we have no board, I think I am going to ditch the Archon here because we need to find some cards. I'm going to ditch both of these. I want to draw new cards. And we draw into 2 lands. All right, so all we have is a Firebolt that we can flash back from the graveyard right now. So we'll just have to pass back. Luckily, our opponent only has 1 card in hand. And it's a Demonic Tutor. All right, so they have any card they want in hand. Pretty nice. Oh, yeah, I was like, we got about 1 turn to make something happen here. And drawing our Mox. I love Moxen, but not on turn 9, right? We could flash back the Firebolt here, put our opponent down to 5. Who knows what they got, though, with that DT. Scarab God. All right, that's what they got. It's pretty good. Scarab God into Putrid Imp, which happens to be a zombie, coincidentally enough. We draw another land. Yeah, there's a lot of targets here in graveyard for the Scarab God. We have Archon in the graveyard now, so they can just Scarab God the Archon here on our turn. That'll make us sack the Kiki Jiki. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we have any outs here. That's going to be pretty strong. So, all right, we're in the Reanimator. Not Mirror, but we're playing a Reanimator. So let's head to game 2. All right, we're on the play, and this is a keepable hand. We got a turn 2 Fable here and a turn 1 Vamp. What would we want to Vamp for? Not sure. So I think I kind of maybe want to save Vamp and see what else we got going on. We'll lead on Mountain Mox Jet. That way we won't lose it in case our opponent somehow like hymns us. All right, opponent evokes Grief, exiling a Shallow Grave. So I guess we can Vamp in response here. Our opponent's going to take probably Fable. So I think I want to be as aggressive as possible here. And so I think let's just get the Goblin Rabble Master next turn, and that way we can slam it down. There's a lot of things we could have grabbed there. Not sure if this is right. All right, I'm expecting, again, the opponent to take the Fable here. They do. All right, Rabble Man coming down. All right, opponent snuffs out as well. So a lot of free spells on the opponent's side. Evoke, snuff out, pretty good. We will be able to get our Hell Rider down next turn, however. And that won't be bad with a Goblin token out. Shelldock Isle for the opponent. Ooh, Mox Sapphire. Nice. Animate Dead. Not nice. What do they get? They get Grief. Okay, so we lose our Hell Rider. And now we're just kind of drawing off the top. Mana Vault. Great card. Don't need it this turn, though. And we don't have attacks in through the 2/2 Grief, so we'll just have to hold back and hope our top decks are pretty good. We'll fetch here. Don't want to draw any more lands. Now when we got Mana Vault out. Unis Prowler, all right. Well, that can start getting in the air. Like I said, Unis Prowler is a fine beater. Now it does enable a discard outlet for our opponent, unfortunately. Kind of weird that our opponent's not attacking. I would not be blocking. I guess they think they're going to lose the race. Prismatic Vista, perfect top deck. Let's get in with 3 in the air here, though. Start trying to put some sort of clock on our opponent. Again, no attacks by the opponent. Very strange. We will fetch out with this Prismatic Vista. Again, get another land out of the deck. Again, we're close to hard casting Archon again. Ooh, there's Daredevil. Now, Daredevil's pretty good, except Snuff Out's no good against this Grief. Snuff Out cannot target black creatures. We could just get Daredevil down as a 2/1 first striker, and I think I kind of want to be honest with you. Because eventually our opponent's going to start pitching cards to this Unis Prowler to save some life. Like right now, they pitch a Swamp. So we'll play the 2/1 just as a the Daredevil just as a 2/1 first strike. Again, no attacks out of the opponent. Super conservative. I'm not sure what's going on over there. I mean, they're getting closer to Shelldock Isle turn by turn, I suppose. Mox Emerald, perfect. Perfect. All right, all these Moxen are great in your opening hand and not so great after turn, like 5 or 6. However, we got attacks here, so let's get in there. All right, in response, opponent flashes in Necromancy. The only target they have is, the Hell Rider? No, there's a Rabble Master as well. All right, so they flash in Necromancy, take our Hell Rider. I guess this can block. It can block the Daredevil, yeah. I mean, they're still going to take 3 in the air. And honestly, I'm okay with that trade. Like, they use their Necromancy to basically kill our Dire Fleet, which is not a great use of Necromancy, to be honest. They're obviously really worried about their life total. All right, we'll pass it back. Still no attacks from the opponent, who passes it right back to us. All right, Firebolt. Well, let's Firebolt the Grief. This will allow us to attack with the Goblin token. Plus, we have Flashback on the Firebolt, which I think I kind of want to flashback this turn as well, just to maximize our mana efficiency. So we'll get in there. Opponent could pitch a card. No, they have a card to play. They have Corpse Dance with buyback. Okay. Oh, man, they Corpse Dance the Grief, paying for buyback. So Corpse Dance is back in their hand. That's kind of gross. So they will be able to block the Goblin token here. And they take the full 3 off the Unis Prowler. They don't pitch Corpse Dance, which makes sense. So if we Firebolt our opponent now, they're in lethal range for Unis Prowler, or they're going to have to pitch cards. So I think that's what we want to do. It's both mana efficient, and we're restricting our opponent's options as much as possible. This is a very slow, kind of grindy match. So opponent's holding Corpse Dance and 1 unknown. Passes the turn. Let's draw off the top here. Swamp. I guess we'll hold that. So our opponent can pitch cards here to prevent some damage. I expect they will. As long as they don't gain life. All right, they pitch Corpse Dance, take 1, and we'll just have to pass the turn back. I'll just hold this Swamp for now. Again, no plays by the opponent, who just passes back. A little draw-go magic here. There's no standstill on the battlefield, I'm pretty sure. We're just both looking for some action off the top of our decks, that's for sure. Hey, there it is. There's the Archon off the top. Unless our opponent's playing counter magic, I think we're going to have this here. So let's attack with the Unis Prowler first. Maybe, get another card out of their hand. Yeah, this time they ditch Crypt Breaker. And then second main here, we'll just, hard cast Archon. Just like we drew it up. All right, that's good enough for game 2. Let's head into the finals here, game 3. All right, we're on the draw. This hand seems fine. A little expensive. We will need to draw a couple lands here, but have the Mox, have the ready. We can evoke a Fury if we need to. All right, we draw Obnixilis. So we'll just play land Mox and pass. Opponent Night's Whispers, okay. Land off the top and we'll just slam ready here. No land. All right, Glorybringer. All right, we don't have any plays, so we'll just have to pass. Kind of unfortunate, but we did keep this hand. Yeah, opponent makes their third land drop. Into Dark Ritual. So they got 5 floating. Demonic Tutor. All right, all right. I like it, OP. I like it. Okay, Putrid Imp, a little less exciting, unless they're going to ditch something here. All right, they discard Grizzlebrand. All right, he's going to reanimate it here. Yep, all right, animate dead. Nice. Sometimes you're happy when you see it come together, right? All right, well, so opponent immediately pays 7 and draws 7, so we're up to 10 cards. And now we need a land off the top immediately. If we get that, we can cast Duretti, sacrifice our own Mox, and kill the Grizzlebrand, which I think we need to do. All right, we do get a land. Had we had that third land, we could have held up Corpse. Well, we wouldn't have held up Corpse Stance. We would have had Duretti on the battlefield. So, anyways, this is kind of painful here because we got to sacrifice one of our mana sources, and we do need mana. But I ain't going to keep that Grizzlebrand on the battlefield. And as long as we go like running lands here, we should be okay. Again, we can still evoke the Fury, and maybe we should, because that would, yeah, maybe that was a punt there. If we would have evoked the Fury, our Duretti would not die, because right now this Putrid Imp's going to attack for 2. I think this is a mistake, because we could just start making construct tokens to sacrifice. Yeah, that's a punt on us. Sloppy gameplay. And opponent plays Liliana. Okay. Now, Liliana would have countered our constructs for sure. So now an evoked Fury will take care of Liliana. So having hindsight, I guess it's okay that we didn't evoke the Fury, but we didn't know that when we played it. And we do not draw land. We draw a Fable. I guess we can pitch Glorybringer just because it's 5 mana instead of 4 like Hellrider. We will take all 4 counters here off the Lily. This still leaves a Putrid Imp on the battlefield. But we can Shallow Grave too, which is kind of interesting. So this will get the Putrid Imp off, and we'll deal 6 more damage to the opponent, which puts them at 5. You know, if we can go land, we can go Fable into Hellrider. That'd be pretty good. Maybe there's a way we can pull this off with 2 manas. Oh no! Opponent snuffs out. All right, that still cost them 4 life. Saved themselves 2 life there. And what's nice, though, is the Fury's still in our graveyard, so maybe we can Corpse Dance the Fury next turn, because we didn't have to exile it off the Shallow Grave trigger, because it died before end of turn. Ooh, opponent slams Scarab God. That's not good. All right, and then we draw Recurring Nightmare. Do we have any outs? I mean, we're at 20 life. The opponent can basically turn our Fury into a zombie next turn, and they also have Grizzlebrand in their graveyard still. And we do not have a response to it yet. Oh, and they're going to entomb something as well? All right, that was maybe a hasty concede here on our part. We didn't quite get there, but having those 3 Moxen was super great. I like playing games where I have a couple different axes of attack. So we're basically a mid-range Rakdos deck with pinch of Reanimator on the side. Anyways, thanks for hanging. Thanks for chilling with me here. Don't touch that dial, and let's keep cubing.